Hi, I'm Sean Hammond with PremierGuitar.com. We're at the 2011 New York Amp Show at the Celestion room. We had Renee on guitar there, and we have Rick here. Rick, how's it going?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
Right. Now, we heard a pretty legendary amp just now, a Trainwreck. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, that Trainwreck was, at one time, George Lynch had it, and it is Suzanne. And phenomenal sounding. Like all Trainwrecks, it's the biggest attraction at the show. And anytime we bring them in, the room's flooded with people. And because had launched the George Lynch speakers, the Lynchbacks, we thought it'd be appropriate to bring one of George's old amps in and kind of pair them up for the liking. And so far, everybody's in love.
Yeah, so there's two attractions here. The Trainwreck brings people in, and then you tell them about the new speakers, which are inside this Avatar 212. You want to tell us a little bit more about the Lynchbacks?
Yeah, absolutely. George came to us a few years back, and we'd had meetings and meetings about meetings. And back in the day, he used to record with, I think, a Fane and a Greenback together, and something for the Fane for the topping clarity, and then the Greenback for its famous mid-punch. And so he challenged us to do a speaker that would kind of combine both. And so he wanted kind of the Greenback, creamy mid-range, more clarity on top, and a bottom that just didn't flub out. And we sent him some samples, and we nailed it on the first go. He was real happy. He's been touring with them, actually using them. And so we couldn't be happier. So they're just getting out to the market. These are actually from production. They're not pilot run or engineer samples. These are in production.
Cool. Why don't we hear a little bit more out of them, maybe a couple different styles of playing? Cool. Thanks, Renee. Now, Rick, given that Celestion is pretty much the most storied speaker out there, you guys always have lots of different amps in your booth to showcase the different stuff you have in the line and different strengths. You've got a couple other cool things here that I think people will be really excited about. One is this new Avatar head here. Right, you're showing it as a favor, but what the heck?
Yeah, no, Dave's a friend of ours and a longtime Celestion customer, and he decided to jump in the amp game. Sometimes 700 amp companies are not enough, so he's, I think, number 701. That's a little 18-watt British voiced, no secret. It's kind of a Marshall-esque voiced. I think he put his own spin and hand wires them in the USA and Avatar fashion. He's looking out for the musician and pricing them right. I think that's, I don't want to be misquoted, but I'm pretty sure it's about $9.95. So cool little hand-wired American-made amp, and it sounds wonderful.
Cool. Well, let's take a listen. I mean, lots of people online love Avatar just because he makes so many different kinds of cabinets for a great price, different colors, different speaker configurations. I think a lot of people will be stoked to hear what the head sounds like. So you've also got a new amp from Comet, which is also based on a Trainwreck design. Tell us about that.
All right, so Ken Fisher built, the two last amps he built were called a Songwriter 30. And what the deal was is he gave one to a well-known player, and he kept one for himself. And then when he knew it was getting towards the end, he agreed with his brother that he could share the technology and that he'd be happy for it to be developed with an amp company, specifically Comet, as I believe the story goes. And so this one was modeled after that one. And the thing was, Ken used modern parts, whereas the Expresses and the Liverpools and the older ones, they use old Mallorys. There's things you can't get anymore. So with this one, he purposely used parts that you could source. So Comet took it, they duplicated the amp, what was called Brie. And like I said, there's only 2 of them. And then this is one of the first productions off that run. And so it's a total Ken Fisher design, using the same parts that Ken Fisher used on the 2 Trainwreck branded ones. And the family gave the blessing, as I understand it, to use the Trainwreck logo on it. So it's a Trainwreck that can't be built anymore by Ken, so Comet is building it. They're using all the same parts. Everything's just mapped out. You know, they followed the schematic to the T.
What kind of power tubes are in that?
It's EL84s. There's 4 of them. It's kind of in the Liverpool vein, but it's got a solid state rectifier. And so a little more headroom. He wanted to write something singer-songwriter's guy that didn't want to get right into the gain when they turned it on. So it's got a little more headroom, but it definitely has that familiar Trainwreck vibe. And it's a great amp.
Okay. And
it's sitting on top of 2 10-inch golds in this Bruno cab.
cool. Now the front panel controls are typically pretty simple. What do we have here?
Bass, volume, treble, and then there's a bright switch, and that's it. Less is more.
Rick, where can people go to find out more about the entire Celestion product line?
Celestion.com.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks so much. Good to see you guys.
You too.
All right. Cheers.
I'm Sean Hammond, reporting for PremierGuitar.com.